Morning, everybody in Facebook land. So, my kickoff in the morning is to do my little motivational speech for myself, really, if anything, because even though I broadcast to the world and you're all listening to it, it's my own personal journal that when you hear yourself or when I hear myself, it keeps me accountable and I remember the things that I say, and then I also follow my own advice. And it doesn't mean that you have to follow my advice. It doesn't mean that whatever you do or not do is bad, wrong, or indifferent. It just means that here is my representation. Here is the world that I live in. I have been practicing this whole recording of my life ever since the early 90s. So what I'm doing is not any different than what I was doing back when I was in my 20s, taking pictures of every single life experience, for the most part, that I've ever been exposed to. So this is just more for me than anything else. But it also confirms what I've already been broadcasting about the J world and personal accountability and not trying to shove your lifestyle and belief system down somebody else's throat. And the whole thing about good deeds and all that other stuff, it's really I don't know, it's a way to manipulate someone into a very specific outcome, because what you think is a good deed is based upon a meaning that is propagated by the politics, religions, and scientific dogmas that have a very specific intentional outcome, which is a type of depopulation agenda. So anyways, so yeah, understanding your lymph nodes, okay? Last night, I felt the pain of whatever was being pushed through my arms come out my armpits. There was a tiny little slit of a rash that was under my right armpit. It was only there for about maybe an hour, and it disappeared. So on Monday, I felt the frequencies, kick up like I told you yesterday, and then I felt the pain in my arms as if just like I was lifting weights and my body was just trying to deal with it. But no, it was the prostaglandins pushing all the different bacteria that were developed from that frequency change through my lymph nodes. Okay, I have an immune system. Then those lymph nodes have to open up and release. And so when people get eczema, psoriasis, or rashes, that's the body releasing those demons, and you don't try to stop it. And so that was a great correlation to see the relationship between pain and the body releasing. The body releases, you don't stop it, you feed it, and then the next day you feel amazing. And then, hey, John, and then yesterday I was purging out my closets, I was purging out my office. I mean, I tell you, I've gone through my clothes a million times, and then you think that you need all these clothes and all these things, like what happens, what if, just in case, an emergency scenario. And so that's why hoarders have so much junk in their house, because they didn't clean up their immune system. See, when you clean up your immune system, you clean up all the junk, all the old memories, and so you don't have an attachment to certain material things that really serve no purpose. I mean, how many vacuum cleaners do you need? How many, little gadgets do you need? Just because you acquired them during a time that was significant doesn't mean that you have to save them forever. They need to be thrown away. And so that's what I was doing yesterday. And then I was watching movies yesterday. I was watching, I have Paramount streaming service, so they have a lot of movies from the 90s. And a lot of movies from the 90s is a conditioning. It's a conditioning on how they're going to show you how they're going to change society. And also it shows you that how the hardship programming, all the MK Ultra in the military, and all the different stars that were under a type of programming, what they were like back in the 90s, and then you look at them today and they're revealing all the programming they were under, and the programming is wearing off. And so it's not a surprise that you saw me go through my own release of the program in the last 6 years, and then also watching Paris Hilton just reveal everything that she's been going through. And then also now she has a child, and so this is how she's going to pass down, pass the baton, right? And her kid's going to go through probably the same type of programming that she went through. And so, so then, of course, then I see on my Facebook, people putting out those memes about, oh, karma is gonna get those who had purely nothing but good intentions for those and whatever. And I'm just like, oh God, here we go with those that are like, well, I have good intentions for you. I want to save you from this and save you from that. And so we have all the saviors and Satans out there trying to save everybody. People are like, I'm not doing what you're doing for whatever reason. And they're like, oh, karma's going to fucking get you if you don't listen to me. Oh, geez, that is the depopulation agenda. That is the depopulation agenda, when people still do not take personal responsibility and they feel slighted because someone didn't follow their politics or religion or science dogma. And so that's why I just stayed on my Facebook. I even responded to that person, then I erased it, and then I positioned that meme and spun it to my own intention. So that way you see, because I've seen that all over the place. People are like, claim to be saviors and claim to be like this and that, and then they're like, karma's going to get you for not listening to people who had good intentions for you, and I'm just like, okay, all right, okay, Jesus, all right. So then I'm thinking like, I'm kind of wired. I just had a bunch of coffee, as you can see. But yeah, I mean, it's so interesting to watch the world. It's so interesting to watch the world right now, and what people have to say about what they do. And I was thinking, like yesterday, my husband was reading something from a crime watch community, and somebody was thanking someone for saving them from, having to pay a bunch of money to a towing service and buying tires and whatever. And I'm just like, okay, so somebody was saying, and they were really happy, and somebody was responding to that saying like, oh, I'm so happy to see somebody pay it forward or acknowledge someone for saving them from having to buy tires and to have to pay the tow bill. And I'm like, that's the whole learned helplessness, enabling someone to be helpless, to be a victim. When you don't have a spare tire in the back of your car, you don't have any money to buy a new tire, and then you end up having a flat on the side of the road. And I said in my head, oh, well, your lack of preparation is not my emergency. Your lack of preparation is not my emergency. And so when someone enables you to still be a victim, to still not prepare for the worst, you really think you're helping them? But see, that's our society. Our society about saving somebody a bunch of money because they didn't plan correctly. That's the thing with parents, bailing their kids out of fucking jail or giving them money when they can't really afford this or that. And so I'm saying, like, when you're going saving a stranger from their own stupidity, you really think you're helping them? No, you're just developing another fucking victim. I don't think that's actually, I'm just like, and I sound like my mom. My mom is exactly the same. I'm actually ended up sounding like my mother. So now you see, my mom actually had a really good awareness about what's going on in this world. I didn't understand it back when I was in my 20s and my teens. She maybe didn't even know herself. She knew probably aspects of what she was doing. But how do you explain the efficacy of everything, and sometimes you put yourself in experiences that were reacting from something else that gave you another awareness that most people out there will not ever have that awareness ever, because they will always have somebody save them from themselves. And so when I see people like, oh yeah, pay it forward. Nah, no. Take care of your own self. Save yourself. Depend upon strangers to save you from your own stupidity. That's why we have such a soft population. That's why we have pansies all over our side. That's why we have boys and girls who can't fucking handle pain. When you have to save someone from the pain by giving them a fucking drug, shit. When I'm watching G.I. Jane and she's going through waterboarding, she's going through the abuse from the men because she was trying to, be like them in the Navy SEALs. I'm telling you, people don't ever experience something like that. And they will never, because they will never even put themselves, can't even handle their own pain of their own releasing of their own pain. And so you could always be worse. You could be putting yourself through that kind of torture. I went through Air Force basic training. It was pretty insane. And relative to what I was used to, that was pretty insane. I couldn't imagine myself going through Navy SEALs or Delta Force or any of those. What did John say? My dad let me suffer for 2 years, in jail for 2 years. You might realize a few things while you're in there. Yes. Yeah, that's awesome of your dad. Yeah, I was in juvenile hall for 3 days. I was in that girl center after juvenile hall. So I was actually in a lockup facility for 60 days. And then going to a group home with a bunch of derelicts that one wanted to kill me in my sleep. Okay, good day. Thanks. Hey, Michael. Okay, so that's the thing. Is like when you've seen and gone through some shit and you've been isolated and you have to think about stuff. Yeah, you start realizing how much you can endure and survive. And I'm telling you, these kids out there don't have it fucking in them. They won't survive climate change because they have somebody always bailing them out, giving them a drug, giving them a toy, always attending to every single little need and every little pain. Oh, I'll tell you, that's, so those in the J world, the ones that get it, you've already been through your own bullshit and you see the value of having to deal with your own bullshit. You don't have to voluntarily go through, the basic training or Delta Force or Navy SEAL training to get that kind of and conditioning. Just dealing with your own predisposed issues and changing your lifestyle is enough for you to realize that pain is necessary. Suffering is necessary. Not somebody else putting their hands on you. Not somebody else antagonizing you and bullying you and hitting you. No, you deal with your own bullshit. You come to terms with your own fucking past is how you're going to survive this climate change. And so it's been amazing just dealing with my dog and dealing with that, dealing with all of the things that come up for me the last 6 years, the whole J world, and dealing with all the fucking trolls that want to save me, save my fucking dog, save themselves from me, and I'm not even in their town, much less even in their fucking country. But they need to save everyone from Jillian, right? See, the saviors and the Satans are two sides of the same coin. That's why politics, religion, and science is a depopulation agenda, because they're all about you, we're about somebody else, and never about yourself. But when you finally deal with your own pain and deal with your own predisposed issues, and you're not trying to surgically take it out, you're not trying to drug away or anesthetize yourself, you're not trying to get lost in somebody else's bullshit, you actually might realize a few things. When I was home alone for many years, after school, all that, and then eventually, when I was in my cell for a minute, because I didn't want to go out to the main room, because in juvenile hall, some of the girls were they were pretty aggressive. Some of them were headed to California Youth Authority. They committed murders. And so I was in the girls' part. Then they finally put me into the co-ed unit, where it was less violent offenders. Okay, so I just stayed in my room because I don't want to deal with some of the girls. But I've had my ass kicked in some of the shelters I've been in. Oh yeah, I've been through it. I've seen some shit, been through some shit. And so when you've been through that kind of stuff and you still survive it, with somebody else putting their hands on you, somebody else doing this, and you've survived your own isolation, you survived the different reformatory institutions, when you survived dealing with people's families that don't like you, you can survive so much. But when you purposely do not allow yourself to go through the hardships and you're always trying to have somebody save you, yeah, that's how we have such a soft pansy society that can't handle the fucking pain of life. And they don't survive climate change. They can't even handle feeling pain in their arms without taking a drug. That's the world that we fucking live in, is that people are so under the influence because they were never taught to condition themselves to deal with the pain of life. And so that's why we're in the depopulation agenda. And so, yeah, those that have gone through some major aggressive type of MK Ultra type of stuff, they have it within them. If they survived all that and they're still living today and they're still surviving and thriving on some level, they have it made. They have it fucking made. Those that have never gone through any kind of hardship, really, except for someone not giving them a toy that they wanted, you'll be good for a minute. You'll be good for somebody else to exploit for a minute. And then when shit changes, you won't be able to handle it. I already see it in the kids out there. They will not be able to handle climate change because they already are under the influence of so many different drugs, or they're totally overextended that it's going to take another climate change. Heart attack, stroke, something else. Gone. And so that whole genetic line be gone. Because right now we have a bunch of kids who are at the end of a genetic line that don't have what it takes to deal with it. And they'd be the last ones. Because they may not even be able to survive their own childhood. They might have a baby, but will that baby survive climate change? You hope. I don't know. So, yeah, I'm really wired. That Cafe Bustelo, holy shit. That's no more Starbucks for me. So anyway, so this is just, the moral to this story is that, if you deal with your own predisposed issues and change your lifestyle, belief system and all that stuff, and you can strategize the changes of the economy, the changes of the environment, the changes of everything, you can survive and still enjoy your life. You don't have to have a 10,000 square foot house. You don't have to even own anything when you think about it. Owning something, you don't really own anything. Even when you own something, you still got to pay taxes because you live in a community of people with infrastructure. Okay? So don't let people, those who are afraid of the World Economic Forum, say, oh yeah, you will own nothing, have nothing, and be happy. That's like, those are for the people that just can't handle change. And they will spin everything to make it seem like it's worse than it really is because they can't handle their own body processes. They can't handle change. They can't handle evolution. And they don't understand the bigger picture because they choose not to. They're so compartmentalized. And so when you don't clean up your own immune system, yeah, you're going to be bleeding all over the place. You're going to be attached to material things. You'll be attached to old ways. And so we thank you for your service. You're great in the old world, but you ain't going to fucking survive the next world. You will not. But we still honor you and thank you and appreciate what you've contributed thus this far. That's the real dream. Content with nothing. Absolutely, Audrey. Yes. Absolutely. Because you don't, look, I'm in my room, right? And that furniture there was not something that we bought. Somebody who had whose father died, they gave us all that furniture. Because they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't want to sell it and they wanted to have it go someplace. So we took it on. Okay? But I don't even need that. Maybe one day, my husband and I will buy something, a bedroom set. But I really don't need that much. And really, when you think about it, the happiness in my world, the feeling content, the feeling like I'm doing something, that I'm progressing, is understanding things intellectually. And then also using my hands. So, if I want to go and refinish the picture window in my bathroom because the paint's peeling, I'll read how to do carpentry and I'll do it myself. When we have to go and redo the deck, I told my husband, eventually, honey, we're going to have to do that deck and you're not going to be able to do everything. So when I'm home and you teach me how to take the deck apart and what you want part of the deck and then watch out for rusty nails and this and that, I want to be able to do that. I'll wear gloves. I'll get the tools. Okay. And so there's so many things that you can learn and take on. There's not a shortage of things to learn. I've done all the traveling already. People are doing traveling now, which is great. If you've never done traveling before, go fucking do it. But hopefully you survive. But remember, people in the old world that did all their partying and they were doing their partying and stuff, and then also getting their job and their lifestyle and all that stuff, and they haven't really traveled. Now they're traveling, which is great because some people are on their last legs and they need to see the world before they pass away. Okay? But I've done all the traveling, I've done all the partying, I've done all the marriages. I'm in my last marriage when you think about it. I've done all of that. And so, I know, I've already dealt with that bug of having to go see other places and live other places. Now it's about traveling up in here. So all of us are in different places on what we feel is fulfilling at the time. But you better survive in the J world. I hope you survive you going through those different phases. Because I'm telling you, when you're in the J world and you haven't traveled, it's okay to stay home and deal with your bullshit. And then down the road, because we have 12.9 billion people, really, when you think about it, because that's their future projection, there will be places for you to visit when you finally get yourself, acclimated to this environment and you've dealt with your predisposed issues. You will do all the traveling, do all those things later. You don't have to do everything right now in the J world. If you're not doing the J world, you do whatever you do right now based upon what's appropriate for you. But in the J world, just assume that you're going to survive everything. I mean, obviously we don't know the future. It could be a big asteroid that just takes out your town, but you can't live like that. But I would say, in my advice in the J world, deal with your predisposed issues. Do what you got to do to take care of your family and yourself, but also deal with your predisposed issues and try not to overextend yourself because you really have to deal with some shit. And sometimes it requires you just to do your job, take care of your family, and stay home. And all the other stuff that's all just like extra, you don't have to waste your time on that. And you can still enjoy your life with your family, take care of business, and resting. Okay, there's nothing wrong with staying close to home. Nothing wrong with dealing with your bullshit. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, because I did it for the last 2 years. People thought I was crazy, but hey, I had to do it. If I didn't do it, I wouldn't be able to survive. I mean, I wake up every morning Like last night, I was blowing my nose, like, or actually really early this morning, blowing my nose because all that stuff was coming out of my armpits. Okay, inflammation was also coming up in my nose, and so I was blowing and blowing. So I could see that correlation. And so I know now how to deal with climate change and with the cultures that are that replicate so excessively, and then you have to release those demons. You cannot let them metastasize because they'll turn into a disease later. And so when you know how to take care of yourself during climate change, then you'll get up without, hitting your alarm. I'm up like every couple hours at night, and I still get really good sleep, and I still am industrious in taking care of business unless there's another climate change, another frequency change, and I have to go and recalibrate to that. So it's always assumed that the climate's going to change at some point. You'll feel it. Sometimes people will feel the last climate change and their body is still releasing because they have so much retroactive evolution, retroactive microbes that haven't been released, that you might be feeling your diagnosable condition for months and months and months because the body is going through that conversion process. So when I said that I am amazed I can fit into my 10 and 11 pants, I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, I couldn't fit into half the shit that I have in my closet. Okay? Now I go and wear the work pants that I wore back in 2016, and they're 10 and 11, yeah, but I couldn't get into those before. And even the pants that I bought when I was, over there in California, I could fit into them now. It was so weird. It's not too tight. And I'm just like, this is so weird because I remember 2 years ago when COVID was coming around and the frequencies were changing, my body was blowing up. I had enough substance because of the last, because I got off the J juice. Probably religiously, I got off the religious part of the J juice where it was like almost every week back in 2019. So a whole year of really not doing J juice that much. So I was putting on the weight, which is good, right? So then when the climate came around, yeah, I got swollen. People were like, oh my God, my boobs were getting bigger. Everything was big. I couldn't fit into my pants. I had to go wear my husband's pants. But I had enough substance to convert the energy. When you're so skinny and climate's changing so aggressively, you have nothing to convert. It's like you want to go in and make money off your house, but there's no equity in the house and you have nothing in your house to sell to convert into something else. That's when people who weigh next to nothing, who are on diets, staying away from meat, milk, cheese, and eggs and all that stuff, and don't want to feel pain, and they're going through a climate change, they'll be converted out of existence. There'll be nothing to convert. Their body will shut down. That's why I said, guys, now it's time to eat. Okay? The evolution of the JJ protocol was get back to all the foods. Meat, milk, cheese, eggs, everything. Don't get caught up in the whole non-GMO, organic, gluten-free bullshit because that's the depopulation agenda, especially in climate change. And so, so I'm able to now convert my body's particles to save me. That I have enough substance, enough reserves, and enough infrastructure to deal with the body converting energy when it needs to. And so be thankful that you feel pain. Be thankful that there's food out there that they haven't completely destroyed the food supply. When you think about it, like what do you mean destroyed? Just have all the grocery stores just go up in flames. See, we have this fear campaign that, yes, certain food industries or certain places are going up in flames, but when you think about it, that's just whatever. If they really wanted to take all of humanity out, we would have, there'd be no Walmart. There'd be no any of the grocery stores. No, there's a lot of psychological operations going. A lot of fear campaigns on those who are already bought into all the psychological programming. But I'm not going to, my husband and I were watching Homesteading last night. And some of them were, some of the homesteading rescue situations were either in Ohio or some places out there in Alaska. And I'm like, I don't want to go back to freaking caveman days. I don't want to go back to struggling that hard. Okay, like what happens if, there's no electricity, my husband was saying, here in Ohio. And I'm like, okay, well, I have a house. I have a fireplace. There's wood outside. I have wood and I have furniture. If we're in like a zombie apocalypse, like The Walking Dead, well, then we go and invade other houses, right? To go take their canned foods if they're not alive, if they're all dead from a zombie virus or something. I mean, and so I'm not worried about if there's no electricity. I mean, I have freeze-dried food if I need to. I did buy something like an emergency thing like that. But I'm not really afraid of not having electricity here in the city. I mean, if it happens, it happens, but I'm not really too concerned about it. But I'm not going to go and start over again in the fucking middle of nowhere. Some people didn't even have running water in their house, and they're wanting a homestead, and they look like they're struggling. Some lady looks so skinny that she can only do that survival shit maybe for another couple of years, and then she's done. The whole off-gridding, homesteading thing, I'm not trying to go back to the caveman days. We came this far for a reason. Now figure out how to strategize the creature comforts and the innovation that we've developed. There's no reason to be like, okay, let's take everything back to simple, so simple. I mean, I'm being simple by releasing the demons, but I still have my internet. I still have running water. I still have electricity. I have cable, same thing as internet. You know, I have a TV. I have a backyard. Okay, I still have mail service and all that stuff. So you can still be simple and still yet take part in the society that was built for you so you can survive. But you don't have to take everything to fucking extreme. And that's what people are doing. They're taking everything to extreme and then they suffer and they pass away. Yeah, it's all psychological. I didn't buy into all that bullshit as far, I figured out what was going on. The society repeats itself over and over and over again. They have to go in and reinvent the wheel, right? And so I'm not about reinventing the wheel. I just clean up my own immune system and take things back to square one in that manner, but I'm not going to go and suffer, like purposely, intentionally suffer with struggling like that. There's different ways to struggle without you taking yourself down and dying from the struggle. Okay, so it's all strategic if you understand what's going on. And it's let me tell you, the J world is not for everybody. It's for a very few people. Very few. Most people cannot handle their own predisposed issues. They can't handle change. They can't handle anything. And they're too far gone and they're too invested in their social capital and the trappings of wealth. And that's why they call it the trappings of wealth. So anyways, I'm going to go take care of my stuff, but I wanted to give you that side of the updates when it came to Monday and the climate change, and then enabling victim mentality and the programming wearing down, and why you're seeing people like Paris Hilton, who's in her 40s. People who are in their 40s and 50s are going to see predisposed issues come up because the programming is wearing down. It's not a coincidence. It's all been planned that way. I mean, that's our built-in society programming, is that you're cured and you're put into a specific job, lifestyle, and belief system, politics, religion, science, for a certain amount of time until you either force that programming to stay and then you die in that programming, or you realize the programming wearing down and then you're developing another programming that is going to help you stay alive during this whole great reset. Okay? And saving somebody from their own stupidity, it's fine for a second, maybe do it once or twice, but when you make that a thing, save people from their own stupidity, then you're not really helping society. You're just developing more victims who will then depend upon everyone out there to save them. And then you develop pansies, and then kids will think that everyone's going to save them from their own stupidity. No, at this point, no one's going to save people from the climate change. You're either going to save yourself, but you can't save someone from climate change. You can buy them a fucking tire so they don't have to pay all the towing bill, but then now you just take money away from your own kids, from your own mouth, for someone else's stupidity. Okay, that's a depopulation agenda. Bye.